Narcissistic mother returns after disowning me for being gay, demands my properties as reconciliation, ends up getting arrested. My mother hired a PI to find me after 19 years of no contact. Can she just hire someone to invade my privacy like that? Update. My mother contacted me after 19 years. My so-called mother hired a PI to find me after 19 years of no contact. After what she and my sperm donor, whom she calls her husband, did to me at 16, she thinks she has the right to even look at me, let alone talk to me. I know where you live. If I want to contact, I would have tried. But not once in the 19 years of no contact have I tried. So F off. I don't care if you're dying and need a body part, or if you're broke and need money. You can rot in hell. Update. My mom hired a PI to find me, and now it's popping up everywhere I go. She wants to talk. I went to the police, and they said that there isn't anything they can do because she's always in a public place, cafes, parks, etc., and she hasn't approached me directly. Since she sent me an email that I've left unread. How can I get her to leave me alone? Update. I haven't seen her since I was 16, and we were in court. So for 19 years, I haven't had any contact with my mother. She hired a PI to find me, and I still refuse to talk to her. I even had my lawyer send her a formal letter of no contact and threaten her with a restraining order. She sent this email to me through my work email. I shortened it, but basically it said, "To my name, this is her name, your mother." I thought you would have matured by now and come to apologize to me and your father for what you put us through. Because of you, your father lost his teaching career, and we had to sell our house. However, it has come to my knowledge that you own some properties in my area. So it's only right if you give us one of them as an apology. One of my most expensive properties would be a good fit for us. As soon as you hand over the keys to the property, we can finally start to heal and get past this misunderstanding that you blew out of proportion. I hope you make the right decision. I just can't stop laughing at this. Like, no, B, I'm not giving you anything. This is just another bit of evidence to help me get a restraining order against her. Small update. First, I'd like to thank you all for the hugs, well wishes, and rewards. I truly didn't believe so many of you would see my post, let alone leave comments. I'm not gonna lie, you all gave me a bit of an ego boost. Secondly, I'm in a really good place in my life. What happened to me was over 20 years ago, and though I'll probably never truly be over it, I am happy now. On to the update. Guess who's on Reddit and just so happened to see my post? I got another email from her demanding an apology for making her look bad on social media. She has now given us a deadline to hand over the keys to my house. I forgot to tell you all that the most expensive property I own is my family's home, the one where my husband and stepkids live. But she's willing to compromise and take the apartment I bought for my aunt. Oh, and I'm supposed to let my younger sister, who I've never met, use my 2-bedroom apartment for free. I mean, after reading my post and seeing over 600 comments about how crazy and entitled she is, she still thinks she's in the right. Emailing me on my work email and leaving fake reviews online. She left 2 with her actual name. Has given me another piece of evidence for that restraining order. So I guess I should thank her for making it so easy for me. Update. My father put me in the hospital for being gay 21 years ago when I was 14. My brother took me to my parents when I got home. Before I could even get through the door, my father started beating me. I can't remember much of it. I just remember waking up with the tube down my throat and my aunt and uncle sitting beside me. I was doing so well with my PTSD until my mother tried to contact me. I've got an emergency session with my therapist on Tuesday, but I need to get this off my chest. My father was never a violent man, and before, I'd say he was my hero. I always thought my mother loved me, but she only came to visit me to demand that I tell the police I didn't know who hurt me. Thank God my aunt was there and gave me the courage to tell the police what I knew. God damn it. Why can a few emails bring up so much anger and resentment? I got some information about my father that is making me feel guilty. This is just effed up. Update. My father isn't as bad as I thought, and I don't know how to feel. I wrote a post about my mother emailing me and demanding a property for her and her husband. I just assumed her husband was my father. Boy, was I wrong. After the email, I thought it was weird for her to contact me out of all her children. Her older sister and brother are in very low contact with them too. But I'd understand if they want to have contact, as long as they respect my lack of contact with them. So I called my brother and sister. Both my brother and sister had no clue my mother was harassing me. My sister said that I should come over for a cup of tea, and she could explain something that happened yesterday. My sister and brother respect my lack of contact, and don't even talk about them when I'm around because, as I asked, they let me know everything. After my father put me in the hospital, he started to spiral into drinking and drugs. My mother divorced him, and when my sister had the first grandchild, he realized that if he had any hope of being part of his grandkid's life, he needed to change. So he went to AA and NA and got into therapy. My mother didn't divorce him because he was drinking. No, she divorced him for getting better because he told everyone she was married to a drunk. It turns out that my father was scarred by a family friend, and when my brother outed me, it somehow triggered him. But with therapy and time, he's doing better. He wants to talk to me and make amends for what he did to me. I don't know if I can. I understand PTSD, I have PTSD, but that is the reason I have it. My mother was married 2 months after their divorce and started her new family because her older kids are such a disappointment. Her words exactly. She thought that after the divorce she would get the house, but she did not, as it was bought by my Nana and Popa, so it is in their name. Since she made more than my father, she didn't get alimony, and because none of her children lived with her, she didn't get child support. I have 2 younger siblings, a brother, 17, and a sister, 16, that I just learned about. I still don't know why she thought I was her best chance. I'm starting to think my mother is a narcissist. Sorry if I rambled, but this is a lot for me. I'm going to see if I can get an emergency session with my therapist. Update 2. My mother thinks she is entitled to one of my properties. Typical entitled parents. She was arrested. I have 3 properties. 1. The first property I ever bought and now rent out. 2. The big house near water, aka my forever home. 3. The apartment I bought for my aunt or mom after my uncle or dad died. Properties 2 and 3 were not my biggest worries because my mother would only be an annoying family issue, but property 1 is rented out to a lovely couple and they don't deserve to be dragged into it. Can you guess which one she showed up at? She showed up and tried to evict my great tenants with a fake eviction notice. She told the girls that she was my mother and that I gave her authority to evict them. However, I had already given the girls a warning about my mother and instructed them to first call the police and then me if she tried anything. They did exactly as I said. When I got there, my mother was trying to convince the police that I gave her authority to evict them and that I was lying to them to get her in trouble because of an argument we had. But for someone who allegedly hired a PI to find me, she put down the wrong name on those forms. She didn't know that I took my husband's last name. So, she was arrested, and I now have a temporary restraining order on her. She is not to come near me or any of my properties. As for my father, I told my sister that if she got my father's therapist number, I'd give it to my therapist so they could discuss further about possibly having a conversation with him, but only when my therapist and I believe I'm ready. I thought my father would fight me and demand that I see him, but he didn't. He agreed to everything and told my sister that he'd understand if I never felt ready to see him. On a lighter note, my coping methods for stress are building and fixing things. So I converted my old garage into a D&D gaming room for my husband's birthday, and I got me a happy ending, if you know what I mean. That's it. I'll update if anything else happens. Update. My mother is now in a mental hospital. Recap. My mother contacted me after 19 years of no contact to demand that I give her one of my properties. When I said no, she tried to use a fake eviction notice on my tenants, and she was arrested. Apparently, she claims to have had a mental breakdown after finding out that her husband was cheating on her, so the Crown has decided not to proceed with the charges, but the protection order will be left in place. So there is that, I guess. She committed herself to a mental facility, and that's really it. She can't come near me, my family, or our properties. I've also decided to sell the apartment to my tenants. They've been looking for a place to purchase, and when I told them I was thinking of selling, they jumped at the chance. We are in the middle of negotiations, and that's it. Here's hoping for another 19 years of no contact. Update. My mother is schizophrenic and no one told us. I posted about how my mother, with whom I had no contact for 19 years, hired a PI to find me and demanded that I give her my property. She ended up being arrested and sent to a mental institution. After talking it over with my husband, we thought it was a bit weird for her to go from 0 to 60 with the crazy. When I voiced my concerns, I was told she was diagnosed with schizophrenia over 40 years ago, and no one thought to tell me or my siblings. I don't know much about schizophrenia, but I believe it's inherited, right? This is something you tell your kids. I think my mother's family was trying to get me to sympathize with her, but I just disliked her more. She withheld important information that could have affected us. I don't have any biological kids, but my older brother and sister do. I'm just so angry right now. Update. My mother is dead. My mother and I were far from close. We hadn't talked to each other for nearly 20 years. I despise my mother, so why do I feel so awful about it? She has made my life hell in the last couple of months. I should feel relieved that she's dead, but I don't. I feel disappointed and a little mad.